Hey guys, what's up? Game Pizza Boy here, host of Pizza Party. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all doing fantastic today. Good to see you all. I am back again for another awesome XDefiant faction guide, and pretty much my last one for the time being, at least, since we are still waiting, of course, for XDefiant's development team to start announcing Season 2 and get ready for the next faction, stuff like that. So I just feel like I'm really just ready just to get into action, just start talking about some very new content more. So I cannot wait to get to that in a future video, so stay tuned for that. You'll hear me talk about that very soon when it gets announced. But anyway, let me go ahead and not waste any time right now, as let's get started with the last so far right now faction I haven't got around to talk about right now as a guide for you guys, and that is the Cleaners from Tom Clancy's The Division. So we're going to be going through these guys. These guys are probably one of the most crazy, I would say, broken like type of factions, as they are very much for the offensive. And they could be really dangerous when you get up close and personal with them a lot, because they have a lot of their incendiary-related theme type of abilities and tricks. So you're going to be in for a real treat when you use these guys for sure. So let me go ahead and do my guide and show you how you can play the Cleaners, talking about their abilities. We'll tell you my personal loadout I would use sometimes when playing as them. And, of course, just kicking overdrive and get you started with this for sure. But before we begin, as always, if you guys do find this helpful and want to show your support, please make sure to hit the like button if you found it really good. Comment below and tell me your thoughts about the Cleaners. Do you like them? Do you hate them? Let me know what you guys want to contribute to the guide. If you guys want to help join in for the fun, I would appreciate that. And don't forget to subscribe. I would appreciate your support for that, as always. It helps mean the most to me for the YouTube channel and helps me grow. So thank you guys so much, as always. Now, without further ado, why don't we go in and get things started, and I'll show you how you can play the Cleaners. Alright, now to kick things off, what we'll start off, of course, is with the abilities. With each of their two different unique abilities, their passive trait and their ultra. Starting off is their passive trait, and that is the incendiary rounds. What this passive ability does for the Cleaners, it allows them to replace their current regular ammo with an incendiary ammo bullets, basically making it where it will inflict extra burn damage, but will decrease weapon range. This basically just makes it where anytime you shoot your bullets, it's going to be now incendiary. So anytime you hit an enemy with your bullets, they're not just going to get damaged by it, they're going to also get burned by it. So that if you get close to them and you happen to die, or of course if you want to get a chance to weaken them very easily, you can use that, and it will just slowly deal their damage for a little bit with that fiery blazing glory right there. It's a pretty cool passive trait for that offensive attack, and it's really good in many different ways. Pretty crazy overpower, I would say, very much, but it's honestly pretty insane of ability nevertheless. Now, the one thing, like I said, though, is that it does decrease weapon range. So obviously, for one thing that helps you out a lot, we'll also have a con. So this con is basically weapon range. So you will obviously kind of have a lower chance to use your weapon range more easily. So that means you're gonna have to get more closer to deal even more damage than usual for the weapon in question. But do not fret though, because there is certain weapons I do prefer when using the incendiary rounds a lot on this class. So I'll tell you about that in our loadout portion of the guide. Now moving on to one of the two abilities. Starting off, I want to talk about is probably one of the most insane abilities that is very much used a lot by everyone who uses the Cleaners, and that is the firebomb. Basically, what the firebomb does, it will allow you to detonate a special Molotov exploding cocktail, and if you throw it down to the ground, it will cause explosive damage, and it will ignite the area in a flaming area effect radius that will basically burn damage everyone that's within it for a short duration of a time. Basically, what this ability does is that it will allow you to drop it right in, if you use this ability right there on an enemy, it will throw down on the Molotov cocktail, and anyone caught within it will get exploded by it, and anyone who hasn't died from it will just slowly get burned damage until they either die or get out of it eventually in the radius effect of it. This ability is probably one of the most, I would say, kind of broken abilities with these guys, because this thing can really one-hit kill anyone that's within the short radius of it, for sure. So if you get up close to them, you will kill a lot of people, and even if you don't kill anyone with that burn damage will help you out for sure. So if you just drop that down and someone ends up staying in the area effect, you're gonna expect that for sure. This ability, I mean, is like overly used. I've died so many times in this ability. The next one I'll talk about now is the incinerator drone, which is a napalm delivering drone that once you throw out in the direction, it will go forward in a forward position. It will drop and spew out flame out of a flamethrower on it, and it will keep doing it until either it reaches its time point or hits a nearby blockade path, like so obviously if it hits like a wall or something like that, and after that it will then explode on impact, dealing any explosive damage on the way. So basically like the firebomb, but instead it's more of a guided kind of situation. So you throw the drone down, it will go forward, it will spew fire, anyone caught within the range will burn damage similar to the firebomb, but now in a forward radius rather than simply a circular kind of radius. And once it hits a wall, it will blow up, and anyone caught with it will get killed by it pretty much, which you can get instant killed by if you're too close. So you got to be careful when running into these things. So this ability is actually one of my favorites. I use a lot during many objective plays, and it could really come in handy a lot for that reason. You just throw that down, time it right. Anyone who's in the line of sight, they are going to be expecting it big time, and even if they don't get blown up by the drone, they will still get burned damage by it if they stay within the area. So you got to make sure you time in a good position very well with this ability. It's a pretty good one for objectives because it can keep people on their tracks, and they'll have to tell themselves to move away from one spot or the other. Now for the Ultra is the Purifier, and basically it's what you expect for the type idea of the cleaners. It's a giant flamethrower that lets you basically thoroughly sterilize your enemies, as the description basically explains. So it's what you expect. It's a flamethrower. You just go around with it. It does slow you down a little bit since it's a heavy flamethrower, but once you get in contact with enemies and you just use that bad boy, burn them up, it really takes them out pretty swiftly. It's a pretty insane ability. It's really good. It's probably one of my favorite ultras for a lot of kills, especially using stuff like TDM and helping out with objective play sometimes too if you time it just right. It's a really, really, really good ability right there. Though again, be mindful though, you will kind of be a little bit slow a little bit, I would say, when using this. It is a heavy gun right there, but it's nevertheless a really fun ability to use a lot for just those kills right there. And it can also deal a little bit of an afterburn too, so not only you'll deal damage with the flamethrower, but in case you also don't finish them off and you ever die or they run off in time or something like that, that afterburn basically of it will obviously finish them off if it has to. Of course, it does deal some damage for like a few seconds, I believe. So it's a pretty insane ultra for a lot of those kill feed related ones right there. So just take that time right there and go after them, and boom, you got some kills right there. Alright, so now we went over all the abilities, what I can tell you about them very much. Now let me go ahead and now talk about my loadouts now. Of course, my loadout, obviously, as usual, that my loadout is made what I feel like I use the most. So you can use, again, whatever you want, any grenade, any weapons you like, whatever you prefer, but this is just what I prefer the most, and I'll tell you a little bit of advice as well, what you should know when using each of the different abilities, of course, and which modes I would prefer to use. Now, one thing I want to just get out of the way is the grenades. I actually don't have a grenade specifically at all when using cleaners. Honestly, I just use whatever the fuck I want pretty much. I mostly just use anything I pretty much want. If I'm just playing objective, maybe I'll just use EMPs, proximity mines, or maybe frag grenade, and maybe sometimes flashbangs. And if I go over to play TDM, I'm mostly using proximity mines or using sticky grenades, just any of that stuff pretty much as well. So there's really no specific grenade at all. I feel I would preferably use it with just the cleaners. It's just anything you want. So feel free to use whatever you want for sure. Now, when it comes to weapons, obviously include most importantly the main weapons. Obviously, due to the fact that the cleaners has their passive trait, which is the incendiary ammo, which now inflicts burn damage but decreases weapon range. This probably be a good time to mention. Obviously, it's preferably I would recommend probably most likely using is shotguns. Obviously, shotguns I would say is probably the most best when using obviously the incendiary rounds, of course, when playing cleaners, as again, it will not only recommend you to stay close to enemies a lot and get close in person with them, which fits very well for the idea of the weapon range being decreasing, but the fact that you get the extra burn damage with those shotguns, not only you're going to deal some pretty massive damage with those shotguns, you're also going to deal with some burn damage on top of that. So if you happen to die, or you still get enough time to shoot the enemies and before they run off, you can deal damage enough to kill them, or at least burn them enough until they either die or get run around the corner, and they'll have no time at all to recover their health because they're still dealing the burn damage. And eventually they'll die by your hands or someone else's. It's really good to recommend for sure. You can use other weapons too if you want to, like SMGs as well for that close range situation. And pretty much you can use, again, any weapon you want on, obviously, for the class. But I think with shotguns and even a little bit of SMGs just seem preferable with it, with that passive trait in mind. Since, again, that extra burn damage can really deal some pretty tough stuff to the enemy team a lot. And that weapon range, I mean, it's not like it's a big deal, but again, you will have decreased weapon range. So, hey, I mean, the assumption and idea to just use a short, like, related range weapon, like a shotgun or even an SMG, will go a long way to help you out a lot. So, I would probably use this a lot for sure. Now, when it comes to the abilities, let me explain real quick what you should know about them. So, incendiary rounds, I obviously covered that out pretty much as well for the weapons, so I don't need to say about that. Firebomb. it's important to find a good time to use it. Usually it's best to use it when you're in a situation where enemies are on an objective, or if you think you can get, if you're reaching a moment where you're about to die, or you want to be ready to time right if you hear footsteps with an enemy team. If you're around playing TDM, just listen closely for footsteps and be ready for any enemy teams coming around corners, and just be ready to use it. And once it does, just pop that baby quick as you can, and just do that on the right time. Remember, you gotta still time right though, so you can get the insta kill on them when they're very close to you. Otherwise, you won't kill them. But even if it's so, as long as they stay within the range, they'll deal with the burn damage. But just make sure you just time it right when you're hearing the footsteps around corners and you're prepared to run to enemies. If you are on objectives, maybe find a way to flank them around and get ready to get perfectly timed with them, and just make sure to get right into the objective if you can, and then just place that down, because even if you don't kill anyone with it, if you place that on the objective, you can hopefully deal some burn damage to make it harder for them to stay on the objective. They'll have to run off a little bit, and it makes it easier for you to capture any certain objective or something like that at all completely. The incinerator drone also, another similar situation with that, but I would prefer this mostly with just playing objectives. Mostly if you play like in Occupy, Domination. It could also help you out if you want to do Escort as well too. I would also probably use it sometimes, especially when you're going against certain people trying to push the Escort robot, obviously. Now, with this ability in mind, it's a vertical forward-based ability, so it's best to find a good line of position you want to do. So just figure out where enemies are got to come through, and for the objective, figure out, cover your ground very easily, find a good position, and know exactly how it is good for objectives. I do recommend this mostly for just objectives, in my opinion, though. But obviously, you can again use whatever you want on any mode you want, and this could be used even on TDM if you want to. But I just feel like this is more better for objectives. So just figure out your positioning and just line up very well. You'll know if you hold down the button, you'll see a little, of course, a little indication that will show you which forward air will go to. So you can kind of line it up very easily. So just hold down the button before releasing it and just find your position. And then when you're ready, just drop it and let it do its thing. Now for the Purifier Ultra, now this one I just say is just go crazy with it, but be mindful and know how far you can go with those kills. Because again, it won't kill enemies easily all the time, since enemies can be very careful as long as they stay at distance. It's only a short range the Purifier's flamethrower can reach, so just be mindful when you go out there, because again, if you get shot and killed, that flamethrower is wasted. So maybe time it right, run into enemies, find walls and cover if you can, and just try time it right as possible, and then just get in there if you can. Just take your time with the ability, blasting with the flamethrower, and just go crazy with it and just flame on, and you get a lot of kills for sure, definitely with this ability, as long as you know how to time it right. I've done this a few times where I timed it and used it when I was still low HP, and then run to areas where enemies saw me from a distance, got killed very easily, and barely got a kill. So don't make that same mistake I've made a few times before. That's my own fault right there completely. Alright, so I explained to you my personal loadout and also all the abilities and my thoughts on them. Now let me go ahead and give you now my final discussion of what I feel like about using the cleaners. Now, when it comes to cleaners, I actually don't prefer playing them as much, as I just don't really play a lot of them, as honestly, in my opinion. I'm just not really a crazy fan of using the cleaners, as I just feel like they can be insanely overpowered to get a lot of those kills very easily, and I just don't want to really use them constantly. And I just prefer to use them like Dead Cycle a little more, where I can just kind of try to hack over people's abilities and help my team take advantage, or use like Libertad to heal my teammates and go in there with them, or using the GS Commando just to play a little bit of objective where I can destroy grenades or place down those electric barbed wires to kind of protect my teammates or catch people off guard. But I guess the cleaners, I would say, they're not bad to use, and they're pretty insanely overpowered in my opinion. Though they're pretty overpowered in my opinion a lot, since that synergy rounds, and then once they get that flamethrower or use that firebomb, it could be pretty crazy a lot. But I actually don't mind them using a lot. I also really find all their abilities pretty fun to use in their offensive takes sometimes, I guess, even though they can be very annoying when you go up against a lot. But hey, that's just the cleaners how it is. I know things will be toned down as we get through the gameplay over time and things get treated, but I think so far, like to me, as a first time enjoying them, I think they're really fun to use and sometimes fun to play against. I enjoyed the synergy rounds. I like the idea of them having the burn and synergy round damage right there. The firebomb could be pretty crazy to go against right there unused as well. The synergy drone is probably another one I love, just getting timed at, where I have to like be careful. So if I turn around the corner, I see it come back, I'll be like, oh shit, gotta move out of the corner right there. The Purifier is a pretty insane ability too as well, just to burn enemies down and then use that flamethrower as well. And you can get some pretty nasty kill feats with that. So it's it's an overall fun class. It is probably one of the best when it comes to offensive takes, of course, until at least if another faction gets released and we get another one that basically does offensive and it does much better. So who knows? But obviously, this I would say is probably one of the best offensive factions ever. It will help you offensively take out enemies for the objectives or just to clear them out in TDM. So this is probably one of the best for sure when it comes to that as a whole. So I recommend if you are very aggressive like I am, which I know for sure definitely for cleaners, it's probably something I should probably use more often, which I am trying to use sometimes. If you're a very offensive player, you like to go in there, get some kills, or just play for the front lines, so just quickly go in there with like a shotgun or SMG, like I usually do a lot, then this would probably be probably your best bet for sure, because using these cleaners can really come in handy a lot, and their abilities fit the role very easily. So it's probably the best class I would say for me and many others like that who would definitely do so. So I recommend that for sure, to use this class indefinitely, most definitely for sure. So definitely give it a try for sure if you haven't actually tried out the cleaners yet. They are really good for a lot of those kills, and they will definitely come in handy in many different aspects for sure. With that, guys, that is it for the cleaners, and finally, that is the last faction for now, at least. I'll make my XDefiant faction guide. I appreciate everyone for all the love and support as always, guys. I thank you guys for watching these videos. I enjoy making these guide videos for sure. I want to keep doing more, and I want to make this the practice to keep on editing as possible. I do hope we'll hear some from Season 2 soon, because I know I've been hearing a lot of the rumors about what the next faction will be. I think it's something like the Highwaymen from Far Cry New Dawn or something like that, but just want to keep my eyes peeled for that. But I'm really hoping at least that we'll have a good time to get ready for the next faction, because I want to get a video out for sure to talk about all the news and get ready to cover it myself, and then maybe do a guide for the next faction, stuff like that. But I'm just really excited to see what they got in store. I'm just really hyped for that, and I'm hoping things get better soon for the game. But we'll see what happens. But I had a good time making these guides, and I look forward to see. Hope we can do more in the future. Just keep your eyes peeled. I will be obviously releasing videos on that myself, like anyone else would do, and get you all the information you possibly need. But for now, that is it for the cleaners, and that's it for the XDefiant faction guides for all the factions for the time being, until we get our next one very soon. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate everyone for the love and support. I hope you found this very helpful, and if you did, hit the like button again on the video if you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments section below if you found this very helpful. Let me know your thoughts if you enjoy the cleaners. If you don't enjoy it, I'd love to get some discussions going for that as always. And if you want to contribute to the guide, be my guest. I would love to hear your thoughts on that for sure. And don't forget to subscribe. I will appreciate your support as always. It will help keep the channel growing, and it will mean the world to me if you subscribe, because it shows, hey, you enjoy my content, and I'm glad to have you join up on the pizza party for sure. But with that being said, thank you all for joining so much. You all have a good rest of your day. Keep on partying. I'm your host, Game Pizza Boy, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye, my friends.